Hey guys, how's it going? Today we're going to talk about how to consistently do deals as a real estate wholesaler. First of all, I want to start with saying that realistically, there's no 100% way to stay consistent. The only way to really 100% way to stay consistent in business in general is just make sure that you hold yourself accountable and you do as much as you can at all times. But in general, the deals are not going to come as consistent as you would like. You can stay consistent on the other end, and hopefully, even if it's not the best time, you can still do what you're supposed to be doing, and the deals should be coming sooner than later. Before we get into about how to stay consistent with deals, I want to get into what is the cycle of a deal. The cycle of deals consists of three different things. So number one, first phase is finding the deal, finding the lead. You're going to be having thousands and thousands of phone numbers or properties that the people might be interested in selling. But realistically, maybe 1 or even less percent of those people will be interested in selling their property. Probably even small percent. I would say maybe 1 out of 1,000, depending on what kind of list you're working on. Sometimes it could be more, sometimes it could be less. So you will be contacting them and you will try to find the perfect deal. And you will if you keep doing it. And so you will find a deal. At the point when you find a good deal, that somebody is interested in selling their property, that's first part of the process. The second part of the process is negotiating with the seller and contracting the property. So this can take, a day. Sometimes, you can get a hold of someone and they can be ready to sell the property today. And that can happen. And that has happened to me. But realistically, that's not mostly the case. Most of the time, you will actually have to contact a person on multiple times, multiple weeks, multiple months. And I have had to do that. So be ready for that. So that's why I say, don't have one lead that you're just following up with. Obviously, when you find a lead, great, put it into your system, and we're gonna talk about that in a second. And then keep working on other leads. And because you never know which one of them will want to sell now or which one of those leads will eventually bring you a deal. Well, so that's part number 2 of the cycle. And part number 3 of the cycle is actually selling the property and going through the title process and closing on it. So that can take quite some time too. Sometimes, like I said, as quick, you can do it in 2 weeks, or you can do it up to a month, sometimes 2 months, depending if there were complications or not. So, so entire process from the point that you talk to a person to selling, in the shortest version that I've ever had can be 3 weeks, in my opinion, maybe 2 if you're lucky, 2 to 3 weeks. That's the shortest ever. But if you, on average, I want to say it takes about a month to a month and a half. About a month and a half from the point you first contacted the person to the closing. So about a month and a half. So you're going to be working at like a month and a half in advance when you work on these leads. So right now it's beginning of January. So anything that I can find right now that I can actually get a hold of, I'm trying to close middle of February or by the end of February. So that's kind of the idea that what I'm working on right now. So that's the cycle. So that's kind of just to give you an idea that when you should expect the deals to pay out. Now let's talk about what things you can do so you can consistently do deals. First of all, you want to systemize. And by systemizing, I mean is putting into the leads that you're working on into a certain system that you can keep track of all your leads at all times. I use, like many other wholesalers, I use Podio, and it does its job. It's okay. It's very simple and straight to the point. Maybe there are better CRMs out there, but I haven't really had the need to switch to a different CRM because Podio pretty much does everything I need. And it's free. It's free if you're doing it by yourself. When you start having virtual assistant or other people helping you out with your system, you might have to start paying. But when you're starting off by yourself, it is free. So in that CRM, what I suggest doing is having a follow-up system. Let's say you contact a seller that wants to sell their property. You're not sure exactly what price yet. Maybe they haven't given you a price, or their price is a little more higher than what you can pay. So you went ahead and added into Podio to try to work on it, negotiate lower, or just make them an offer. And let's say you call them back in tomorrow or whatever, and they don't answer. So in my opinion, you need to systemize the fact that they didn't answer and, put it into the system and say, hey, this person didn't answer this day, follow up this day. So for example, my VAs, they follow up Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, every day with leads that I haven't answered. Tuesday, Thursday being middle of the week, sometimes people answer, sometimes don't. Saturday, we have a higher chance of actually getting a hold of people because they are A lot of people don't work on Saturday and Sunday, so a lot of people are home and we might be a little bit more lucky on getting a hold of them. Another thing is that besides keeping track of the leads and the people you follow up with, also what you should learn is recycling your leads. It's really good to do, because if you don't recycle your leads and you just keep working on new areas, first of all, you'll miss on a lot of leads, miss on a lot of deals, I guess, because during that time that you got a hold of the people, something might have changed, or maybe you never got a hold of certain people originally, and now you got a hold of them, and now they do want to sell. So a lot of things can change. So recycling your leads is actually not a bad idea, especially if you have, I don't know, like 3, 5, $10,000 property lists. It's good to get into new areas, don't get me wrong. So I do suggest getting into new areas, but I suggest that don't forget about your old area while you get into a new one, because you don't want to just keep getting into new areas, because you'll either run out of areas, which I don't foresee someone else happening, because no one is going to run out of areas, but also, in my opinion, it's not as productive as it is recycling certain leads. Another thing you should consider, so as you keep finding leads, is working on new type of leads within the same list or the new list. So you can work on single family homes, multifamily homes, vacant land. Don't concentrate on just one type of leads. Keep working on different types and see if you can manage those, and you can, because in the end of the day, you will learn more, which is also great. You will learn how to work on certain type of properties. And you will also you will not step away outside of your zone yet, but within your zone, you'll be able to close more deals. So it would be this different lists, but the same areas. So I do believe that works as well. Don't forget to do that. In my opinion, that will help you to keep getting deals and consistently, because let's say you had one city that you're working on and you had vacant land, mobile homes, multifamily homes, single family homes. You had 4 lists, right, that you pulled. You start from vacant land, then you go to multifamily, then you go to mobile homes, then you go to single family homes. And then you can go back and recycle and start again from vacant land and etc. So in my opinion, yes, you can stay in the same area, but you can recycle 4 different lists at a time. So that gives you more than enough time for the leads to get a little bit colder, the other leads, So like if you come back to multifamily after a full round, it's been a month or 2 months since you've contacted them. So you never know what could be what could have changed. Another thing that you should consider, and this is a little bit down the road, depending on how deep you're into wholesaling, is expanding your team. In my opinion, just like any business, this is not one person business. You cannot scale this business by being by yourself. You can scale it to a certain point, but then at one point it gets hard to scale it, and the only way to really scale it is to have a virtual assistant. So down the road, you should have virtual assistant helping you with cold calling, cold texting, and just in general, maybe management positions, and you will figure that out as it goes, because you will see like, okay, so texting is taking a lot of my time and I want to do calling, and maybe you should hire someone texting, or do the other way around. And also you should consider what kind of things you're not as good at. So for example, my weak points are cold calling, and I wasn't good at cold calling. So the first thing I hired someone for was cold calling. I kept texting while they were cold calling, so we can approach the business from two ways. Because sometimes same lead that you're working on may not answer cold calls, but it will answer text, or the other way around. So you could be recycling the same leads just with different types of way to contact those same leads, and different timings and etc. So in my opinion, this is all about approaching the same lead from different angles. And that's going to happen a lot. Eventually you may get into mailing. I haven't really got into that because I don't see the need for it. Most of my VAs do cold calling. I also have a manager VA that does CRM management and follow-ups and all that stuff. But at the moment, and she was also doing texting. So there's no real need for me to do direct mail, but I'm not saying it's something that can be neglected. I think in the future, I will be expanding to direct mail as well. So in the end of the day, this is how to stay consistent. You try to systemize, you try to recycle your leads, you try to work on leads from different angles, expand your team, probably. All those things, you can do them as much as you can, but at the end of the day is that if you don't stay consistent yourself, because in the end of the day, especially when you do wholesaling and you're starting by yourself, or any business that requires, you started from the ground up yourself, your business is a reflection of you. So in the end of the day, if you don't stay consistent, the business will not as well. And I'm not saying you should have days off or whatnot. You should definitely have days off. But it's not going to be, don't expect the business to keep rolling when you are not working, especially in the beginning, especially when you haven't got VAs and managers, etc. Like I said, expand your team. When you have the ability, invest that money back into the business, get new VAs, get new managers, get new all that, so that you can actually expand this business and move further down the road. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Leave a like down below if you did, comment if you have any other questions, subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed this kind of content, and as always guys,